Jacob stared at the creature below him. The Zathin was enormous. It stood almost 3 meters tall, covered in hard armor that looked like black metal. Its 4 eyes glowed faintly in the darkness, scanning everything. It had blade-like arms that looked sharp enough to cut through steel. He had read about the Zathin in military reports. They were the most feared hunters in space. Fast, strong, nearly impossible to kill. Their senses were so good they could detect a heartbeat from 50 meters away. And this one was waiting to ambush his team. Jacob had to warn the others. But he also had to stop this creature somehow. If he just called for help, the Zathin would hear him and attack immediately. He needed a plan. He looked around the secondary hold from his hidden spot. There was a large power core in the center of the room. It glowed with blue energy. Stolen Coalition technology, probably. If he could overload it, create a surge, it might blind the Zathin's sensors for a few seconds, long enough for his team to escape, but to reach the power core, he would have to go down into the hold. With the Zathin, Jacob took a deep breath. His hands were shaking. He was afraid, very afraid. But his team needed him. Draken was right about one thing. Jacob was weak compared to aliens, but being weak did not mean being useless. He activated a special function on his suit, stealth mode. It would hide his heat signature and make him almost invisible to sensors, but it would drain his oxygen fast. He had maybe 10 minutes before he would have to turn it off. Moving very slowly, Jacob climbed down a maintenance ladder into the hold. Every step was careful. Every movement was controlled. He barely breathed. The Zathin's head turned slightly, its sensors searching, but it did not see him. Jacob reached the floor. The power core was 20 meters away. The Zathin stood between him and his goal. He would have to circle around it without making any sound. He moved like a ghost. One step, then another. The Zathin's eyes swept past him. Jacob froze. He held his breath. The creature's sensors probed the darkness, looking for something, anything, but the stealth mode worked. It could not detect him. After what felt like hours but was only minutes, Jacob reached the power core. His hands worked on the control panel. He had learned Coalition security systems in training. He knew enough to access basic functions. Not enough to shut it down completely, but enough to make it vent emergency power. He set a timer. 30 seconds. That would give him time to get to cover before the surge happened. He activated the sequence and turned to run. But his foot caught on something. A piece of debris on the floor. He stumbled. The Zathin heard the tiny sound. Its head snapped toward Jacob's position. Even though it could not see him through the stealth mode, it knew something was there. The creature moved with terrible speed, its blade arms extending as it rushed toward where Jacob had been. Jacob dove behind a cargo container. He turned off his stealth mode and grabbed his radio. "Fire in the hole," he shouted. "Secondary hold. Everyone take cover now." The power core exploded with a brilliant flash of blue light. Not a real explosion that would destroy everything, but an electromagnetic pulse, a wave of energy that knocked out all electronic systems in the hold. The lights died. Emergency doors slammed shut. Everything went dark. Jacob's suit switched to backup power. His helmet display gave him just enough light to see. The Zathin was confused. Its advanced sensors were blind from the electromagnetic pulse. But that would not last long. He heard the creature moving in the darkness. It was hunting him now. Hunting by sound alone. Jacob pressed himself against a wall and tried to stay absolutely quiet. His heart pounded so loud he thought the Zathin must hear it. In the main cargo bay, the firefight had changed. Velrix heard Jacob's warning and ordered everyone to take cover. The electromagnetic pulse knocked out some of the raiders' weapons. The team used the confusion to push forward, fighting toward the sealed door that separated them from Jacob. But that door was locked by the emergency systems. They could not get through. "Morrison!" Velrix's voice came through Jacob's radio, full of static. "Report your status," Jacob wanted to answer. But if he spoke, the Zathin would find him instantly. He stayed silent. The creature moved closer. Jacob could hear its claws scraping on the metal floor. It was searching methodically, checking every hiding spot. Soon it would find him. Jacob looked around desperately for a way out. There, on the far side of the hold, a manual override panel for the emergency door. If he could reach it and open the door, his team could get in. But crossing the open space meant the Zathin would see him. He had no choice. Jacob grabbed another piece of debris and threw it as hard as he could to the opposite side of the hold. It clattered loudly against a wall. The Zathin spun toward the sound and charged. Its blade arms sliced through the air where the sound came from. Jacob ran. His legs pumped as fast as they could. He was not as strong as a Kryn or as fast as many other aliens. But humans were good at running. It was one thing their weak bodies could do well. They could run for a long time without stopping. He reached the override panel and slammed his fist on the emergency release button. Motors groaned. The heavy door began to rise inch by inch. Behind him, the Zathin realized it had been tricked. It turned and saw Jacob at the panel. The creature roared, a sound that made Jacob's bones shake with fear. Then it charged straight at him. Jacob pulled out his small gun and fired. The shots bounced off the Zathin's armor like raindrops. He knew it would not hurt the creature, but maybe it would slow it down for a second. It did not slow down. The blade arms swung at Jacob's head. He dropped flat on the floor. The blade carved a deep cut in the wall where his head had been a moment before. Sparks flew from the damaged metal. The door was halfway open now. Jacob rolled away from another attack. The Zathin was faster than anything he had ever seen. Only luck kept him alive. Luck and the fact that the creature was not used to fighting something so small and quick. Then Velrix and Draken burst through the opening door. Their big guns blazed. Heavy plasma bolts, designed to punch through armor, hit the Zathin from two sides. The creature staggered. Its armor was strong, but even it could not handle that much firepower. Burns appeared on its black shell. It hissed in pain. More of the team poured through the door. The Zathin was surrounded. For the first time, Jacob saw something like fear in its glowing eyes. Then the creature did something unexpected. It spoke. The words were clicks and whistles, but Jacob's suit translated them. "Clever prey," it said. "You fight like no human I have hunted before." Before anyone could react, the Zathin threw something small at the ground. Smoke exploded everywhere, thick and choking. Jacob could not see anything. He heard the sound of metal tearing. When the smoke cleared seconds later, the creature was gone. It had escaped through a hole in the hull that nobody had noticed. The team stood in silence for a moment. Then Velrix walked over to Jacob. The commander's face was hard to read. "You disobeyed orders," Velrix said. "You separated from the team." Jacob stood at attention. He was ready to be punished. "Yes, sir. You also saved all our lives," Velrix continued. His voice was softer now. "Your tactical assessment was correct. If we had gone into that secondary hold without warning, the Zathin would have killed us all." Draken stepped forward. He looked at Jacob differently now. Not with contempt, but with something like respect. "You held off a Zathin shadow hunter alone in the dark, while wounded." He pointed at Jacob's arm, where blood seeped through a tear in his suit. Jacob had not even noticed he was hurt. "Perhaps humans are not as fragile as we believed," Drakon said. Yenna rushed over to treat Jacob's wound. It was not deep, just a graze from when the Zathin's blade had come too close. But it hurt now that his adrenaline was wearing off. "You were very brave," Yenna said quietly as she bandaged his arm. "Very foolish, but very brave." Jacob managed a weak smile. "Just doing my job." But it was more than that, and everyone knew it. For the first time since joining the team, Jacob saw respect in their eyes. They no longer saw him as the weak human who needed protection. They saw him as a soldier who had proven himself in the worst possible situation. As they prepared to leave the damaged ship, Jacob thought about the Zathin's words. Clever prey. The creature had called him prey, but also clever. It had recognized something in him. something that went beyond physical strength. He did not know it yet, but that encounter was not over. The Zathin remembered him, and in the strange way of predators, it had marked Jacob as something special, something worth remembering. The team returned to their base station. Jacob expected things to go back to normal, expected the others to forget what happened and treat him like a burden again. But he was wrong. At the next mission briefing, Velrix asked for Jacob's opinion on tactics. During training, Dracon paired with him as a combat partner. Even Cora, the engineer who had barely spoken to him before, started asking him questions about human technology. Jacob had proven himself, not by being stronger or tougher, but by being smart, brave, and willing to risk everything for his team. That was worth more than any amount of physical strength. But in the back of his mind, Jacob kept thinking about the Zathin, about those glowing eyes watching him, about that voice saying he fought like no human before. Something told him he would see that creature again. And next time, Jacob Morrison stood very still in the big meeting room. His back was straight and his hands were at his sides. He tried not to show how nervous he felt. Around him, other soldiers talked in low voices. They were all bigger than him. Much bigger. Commander Velrix walked to the front of the room. He was a Kryn warrior, tall and covered with shiny scales. His voice was deep and loud when he spoke. "We have a new team member," Velrix said. "A human." The room became noisy. Everyone started talking at once. Jacob saw them looking at him. Some looked surprised. Others looked unhappy. Nobody looked pleased. A soldier named Dracon spoke up. He was also a Kryn with many scars on his scales. "Humans are weak," he said loudly. "Their bones break easily. Their skin tears like paper. They cannot handle heat or cold like we can. Why do we need to carry this burden?" Jacob felt his face grow hot, but he kept quiet. He had heard these things many times before. Ever since humans joined the space community, other aliens said they were too fragile, too weak, not strong enough to be real soldiers. "Lieutenant Morrison has passed all the required tests," Velrix said. He did not sound very happy about it. "He will work as our tactical analyst." "That is all. Dismissed." The meeting ended. As everyone left, Jacob heard them whispering. He saw them looking at him and shaking their heads. Nobody came to talk to him or welcome him to the team. Jacob went to his small quarters and sat on his bed. He looked at his hands. They were smaller than Kryn hands, weaker too. But they were good hands. They could do things. They could work computers and weapons. They could help. 3 days passed slowly. Jacob did his work, but nobody asked for his opinion. When he tried to make suggestions, the others ignored him. At meals, he sat alone. During training, they paired him with the medical officer because nobody else wanted to work with him. Then came the mission briefing. The team gathered in the briefing room again. Velrix showed them pictures on a big screen. It showed an old damaged spaceship floating in space near a cloud of colored gas. "This is our target," Velrix explained. "An abandoned ship near the Skorian Nebula. Pirates operate in that area. We think this ship might have important technology or information about recent attacks on our supply ships. We need to investigate." Dracon looked at Jacob. "The human should stay on the shuttle. He will only get hurt if he comes inside." "I can handle myself," Jacob said quietly. "Can you?" Dracon asked. "If we get attacked, if there is fighting, you will be the first to die. You are too weak." Velrix held up his hand for silence. "Morrison comes with us. He stays at the back behind the combat specialists. Everyone has their job to do." Jacob nodded. He wanted to argue, to prove he was not useless. But he knew that would only make things worse. He had to show them through his actions, not his words. They boarded a small shuttle the next day. Jacob sat in the back corner, reviewing information on his tablet. The damaged ship had been a cargo vessel. Something bad had happened to it. The record showed an emergency signal had been sent, but it cut off suddenly. Nobody talked during the flight. The other soldiers checked their weapons and armor. Jacob checked his too. His gun was smaller than theirs, designed for human hands. His armor was lighter, built for his smaller frame. Everything about him screamed that he was different, weaker. The shuttle docked with the damaged ship. The airlock hissed as it connected. Velrix went first, his big gun ready. Dracon and 2 other Kryn soldiers followed him. Then came Cora, the team engineer. Jacob walked at the very back with Yenna, the medical officer who was a gentle alien called a Plavian. "Stay close to me," Yenna whispered to Jacob. "If trouble starts, I will need your help to get the wounded to safety." Jacob appreciated her kindness. At least someone on the team did not treat him like a complete burden. Inside the damaged ship, it was dark and cold. Emergency lights blinked on and off, making strange shadows on the walls. Jacob's suit had good sensors. They showed him there was air to breathe, but it was thin and stale. The temperature was well below freezing. "Good thing the human has his suit," Dracon said. "Without it, he would already be dead from the cold." Jacob ignored the comment. He focused on his job. He studied the ship's layout on his tablet. Something bothered him about the structure he saw. The main cargo bay was ahead, but there were 2 ways to reach it. The map showed both paths. "Commander," Jacob said into his radio, "I recommend we split into 2 groups. We can cover both entrances to the cargo bay." "No," Velric said immediately. "We stay together. Splitting up is how people die. But, sir, if someone is waiting for us, they could trap us in the corridor." I said, "No, Morrison. We go together." "That is final." Jacob pressed his lips together. He knew what he saw in the layout was dangerous. But Velrix was the commander. He had to obey orders even if he disagreed. They moved forward as one group. The corridor was long and narrow. Jacob noticed burn marks on the walls. Someone had fired weapons here recently. The marks were fresh. His heart started beating faster. Something felt wrong. Very wrong. They reached the cargo bay door. It was partially open. Velric signaled for everyone to be ready. He counted down with his fingers. 3, 2, 1. They rushed through the door into the cargo bay. The bay was huge and empty. Too empty. Jacob's instinct screamed at him that this was wrong. His hand moved toward his gun. Then the shooting started. Bright blasts of plasma fire came from hidden spots all around the bay. The enemy had been waiting for them. Jacob dropped behind a big metal box just as a shot flew past his head. The air smelled like burning metal. The Kryn warriors fired back. Their shields absorbed most of the enemy shots, but there were many enemies shooting at them. "Too many Skorian raiders," Velric shouted. "At least 20 of them." "Take defensive positions." Jacob's mind raced. He watched the pattern of the enemy fire. They were not trying to kill the team right away. They were pushing them, forcing them to move in one direction, toward the far end of the bay. Why would they do that, unless there was something worse waiting for them in that direction? Jacob pulled up the ship's map on his tablet again. Yes. There was another room beyond the main bay. A secondary cargo hold. The door was sealed, but if the raiders pushed them there, they would be trapped. "Commander," Jacob yelled over the noise of gunfire. "They are herding us into a trap." "Secondary hold, that direction." "Just stay down, human," Draken shouted back. "Let us handle the fighting." But Jacob could not just stay down. His team was in danger. They did not see the trap because they were too busy fighting. Someone had to do something. He made a decision. While everyone was focused on the raiders in front of them, Jacob moved to the side. He was smaller than the others, and he could fit through gaps between the cargo boxes that they could not. He stayed low and moved quickly. There had to be another way to reach that secondary hold, a way to see what was waiting there. He found a service corridor, a narrow passage that maintenance workers would use. The door was locked, but Jacob had codes that could open it. His fingers worked fast on the control panel. The door slid open with a soft hiss. Jacob slipped inside. Behind him, he could still hear the sounds of battle. He hoped his team would be okay while he investigated. The service corridor was dark and cramped. Perfect for someone his size. He moved through it carefully, following the path toward the secondary hold. His suit's sensors showed him the way. Finally, he reached a spot where he could look down into the secondary hold. What he saw there made his blood turn cold. A huge creature waited in the darkness below. It was like nothing Jacob had ever seen before except in classified military files. A Zathin shadow hunter, the most dangerous predator in the known galaxy, and it was waiting to kill his team. 3 weeks passed after the incident on the damaged ship. Life changed for Jacob in ways he had not expected. The other soldiers treated him differently now. They included him in conversations. They asked for his advice. They trusted him. Velric started consulting Jacob on every mission plan. Draken would sit with him at meals and tell stories about old battles. Even the other teams on the station had heard about the human who faced a Zathin shadow hunter and lived. Some looked at him with curiosity, others with respect, but Jacob could not forget about the Zathin. Every night he dreamed about those four glowing eyes watching him in the darkness, about that voice calling him clever prey. The creature had escaped, and Jacob knew with absolute certainty that their story was not finished. His intuition proved correct when the team received new orders. They were assigned to protect a coalition diplomat who was traveling to a neutral world called Cavros Prime. There would be peace talks there between the coalition and the Skorian raiders. It was an important meeting and security had to be tight. This should be a standard protection mission, Belrix told the team during the briefing. We maintain the perimeter while the diplomat conducts negotiations. The planet is neutral territory, protected by the Zathin clans. They have guaranteed safe passage for everyone attending the talks. The mention of the Zathin made Jacob's stomach tighten. Something told him this was not a coincidence. Cavros Prime was beautiful. The planet had crystal structures that caught the light of two suns and created rainbows everywhere. The diplomatic compound sat in a valley surrounded by these crystal formations. It looked peaceful, safe. The coalition delegation was small, just the diplomat, her 3 assistants, and Velrix's security team. They would meet with Skorian representatives in a neutral zone. Zathin peacekeepers would monitor everything to make sure both sides followed the rules. Jacob helped set up security checkpoints around the compound. As he worked, he felt eyes watching him. He turned and saw a familiar figure standing on a nearby ridge, the Zathin from the damaged ship, the same creature that had nearly killed him. It stood motionless, its 4 eyes fixed directly on Jacob. Even from a distance, Jacob could feel the weight of its attention. "Commander," Jacob said quietly into his radio, "we have a situation. That Zathin over there on the ridge is the one from our previous mission." Velrix looked where Jacob indicated. The commander was silent for a moment, thinking. The Zathin have long memories. They do not forget those who have bested them in combat, but they also honor their contracts. As long as we are on neutral ground, it cannot attack us and cannot or will not, Jacob asked. Velrix did not have an answer. The peace talks began that afternoon. Diplomats from both sides sat at a long table in an open pavilion. They exchanged proposals and argued about terms. Hours passed slowly. Jacob maintained his position at the outer perimeter, watching for threats. But his eyes kept drifting to the Zathin on the ridge. It had not moved. It just watched. The first day ended without incident. The second day was much the same. Talk, argue, negotiate. Jacob began to think maybe he was wrong. Maybe the Zathin being here was just a coincidence after all. Then, as the second day of talks was ending, the Zathin began walking toward the compound. Slowly, deliberately. Jacob's hand moved to his weapon. Drakon and the other soldiers noticed and tensed, ready for a fight. But Velrix stepped forward, placing himself between his team and the approaching creature. "Hold your fire," he ordered. "It is approaching openly, not attacking. Let us see what it wants." The Zathin stopped at the edge of the compound. Its 4 eyes looked at each soldier in turn, then focused on Jacob. When it spoke, its words were clicks and whistles that Jacob's suit translated into words he could understand. "I wish to speak with the human," the creature said. "Alone. Absolutely not," Drakon growled immediately. "It could be a trap. The human stays protected." The Zathin made a sound that Jacob's translator said was amusement. "If I wanted to kill him, I would not ask your permission first. I challenge no one on neutral ground. I merely wish to understand something." Velrix studied the situation carefully. Finally, he looked at Jacob. "Your decision, Morrison. I will not order you to go." Jacob's heart was pounding, but he knew he had to do this. He needed to know why this creature had come. "I will talk to it. But stay close. If anything goes wrong, intervene immediately." "Agreed," Velrix said. "First sign of aggression, we open fire." Jacob walked toward the Zathin. Each step felt like walking toward his own death. Up close, the creature was even more terrifying. Its armor was covered with scars from countless battles. Its blade arms were longer than Jacob was tall. One strike from those arms could cut a person in half. "You are called Jacob Morrison," the creature said. It was a statement, not a question. "I am Threxus of the 3rd Talon clan. When we fought on the damaged ship, I had been told humans were weak. Easy prey, simple to kill, yet you outmaneuvered me in darkness. You showed courage when facing certain death. You fought with intelligence and determination. I wish to understand why. Jacob thought carefully about his answer. This creature could kill him in an instant if it chose to, but it had not. It wanted to talk. That meant something. I did what I did because my team needed me, Jacob said. Yes, I am weaker than most species physically. My bones break easier. My skin is fragile. I cannot survive extreme temperatures without protection. But I can still contribute. I can still fight. I can still help. Being weak is not the same as being worthless. Threxus's mandibles clicked together thoughtfully. The sound reminded Jacob of someone drumming their fingers while thinking. Among my people, we value strength above everything. Physical power, speed, endurance, these are what make a great warrior. Yet when we fought, your physical strength was meaningless. You won because of something else. Something we also recognize and respect. You have the will of a predator. Even though your body has no fangs or claws, you hunt with your mind instead of your teeth. Is that why you wanted to talk? Jacob asked. To tell me you were impressed? No, Threxus said. The creature stepped closer. Jacob forced himself not to step back. I came to warn you. The Skorians have placed a bounty on your team. They believe you possess information about their operations. They plan to attack this compound. Soon. Despite this being neutral ground. They do not care about Zathin treaties or neutral territory rules. They want you dead and they will break every law to make it happen. Jacob felt ice form in his veins. Why are you telling me this? We were enemies. The Zathin's 4 eyes seemed to glow brighter. Because you fought with honor. Because you earned my respect, which is not easily given. And because I have chosen to offer you something my people rarely give to other species. When the attack comes, and it will come, I will stand with you. Not against you. Consider it a debt repaid. You bested me fairly in combat. That deserves recognition. Jacob opened his mouth to ask more questions. What kind of attack? When would it happen? How many enemies? But he never got the chance to speak. The compound alarm suddenly screamed to life. Warning lights flashed red everywhere. An automated voice announced incoming hostile forces. The attack had begun. Ships appeared in the sky. Not small raider vessels, but heavily armed transports. They had been using cloaking technology to hide their approach. Dozens of them, maybe more. They descended toward the compound like angry hornets. Defensive positions. Velrix roared. The team moved instantly, falling into their trained formations. Jacob ran toward the compound, but Threxus stepped into his path. For one terrifying second, Jacob thought the warning had been a trick. That the Zathin was about to kill him after all, but Threxus did not attack. Instead, the creature turned to face the incoming ships, positioning itself between Jacob and the threat. Stay behind me, human. I promise to stand with you. A Zathin does not break their word. The first transport landed hard, crushing crystal formations under its weight. Doors opened and raiders poured out, Skorians heavily armed and armored. They came in a wave, at least 50 of them from just the first ship. More ships were landing behind it. The coalition guards opened fire. Plasma bolts lit up the twilight. The raiders fired back. The peaceful valley became a war zone in seconds. Jacob found himself fighting alongside Dracon. They worked well together now, the Kryn's strength combined with Jacob's tactical awareness. They covered each other, moved as a unit, took down enemies efficiently, but there were too many raiders. For every one they stopped, 3 more appeared. The team was being pushed back toward the diplomatic pavilion where the terrified delegates had taken shelter. Then Threxus joined the fight. The Zathin moved like a nightmare, made real. Its blade arms cut through armor as if it were cloth. Raiders fell before it like grass before a scythe. Jacob had fought against this creature before and barely survived. Now he saw what it was like when a Zathin fought on your side. It was terrifying and magnificent at the same time. Other Zathin appeared from around the compound, the peacekeepers who were supposed to monitor the talks. They were enraged that the Skorians had violated neutral ground. They joined the battle with fury, their roars echoing across the valley. The tide began to turn. The raiders had expected an easy target. 6 months passed after the events on Cavros Prime. Life returned to a new kind of normal for Jacob Morrison and his team. But it was a different normal than before. Everything had changed in subtle and not-so-subtle ways. Word spread quickly through the coalition military about what had happened. The story of a human who earned the respect of a Zathin shadow hunter became legend. Other human soldiers approached Jacob asking for advice. wanting to know how he did it. He always gave the same answer: be yourself, work hard, and never let others define your worth. The Talon blade hung on Jacob's belt now, always within reach. He had used it in combat twice since returning from Cavros Prime. Both times, enemies who recognized the blade had hesitated. That moment of hesitation was often all his team needed to gain the upper hand. Other alien species began treating humans differently throughout the coalition. Not with scorn or pity, but with curiosity and respect. If the Zathin saw worth in humans, then perhaps there was more to this fragile species than met the eye. Jacob's team had completed 7 successful missions since Cavros Prime. They worked together like a well-oiled machine now. Velrix trusted Jacob's tactical assessments completely. Draken treated him as an equal. Even the newest team members, who had not been there for the beginning of Jacob's journey, accepted him without question. Then came the message that changed everything again. Jacob was in his quarters, reviewing intelligence reports for their next mission, when his communication terminal chimed. The incoming message was marked with a symbol he had learned to recognize: the crest of the 3rd Talon clan. His heart raced as he opened it. The message was simple and direct, as all Zathin communications were. Threxus was requesting a meeting. Not an official military meeting, but something personal. A gathering of clan members on a world called Talon's Rest, the home territory of the 3rd Talon clan. Jacob was invited to attend as Kreshta. As family, he immediately went to find Velrix. The commander was in the tactical center, reviewing deployment schedules. He looked up as Jacob entered. "Sir, I have received an invitation from Threxus to attend a clan gathering on Talon's Rest." Velrix's expression showed surprise. "A clan gathering? Morrison, do you understand what that means? Outsiders are never invited to such events. The Zathin guard their privacy fiercely. For them to invite you means they truly consider you family." "I want to go," Jacob said. "If you can spare me from duty." "You should go," Velrix replied immediately. "This is a tremendous honor, and it could help strengthen coalition relations with the Zathin clans." "When do they expect you?" "In 2 weeks. Then you have my permission. Take whatever time you need. This is important, Morrison. Not just for you, but for all humans in the coalition." 2 weeks later, Jacob stood on the bridge of a coalition transport ship approaching Talon's Rest. The planet was beautiful, covered in dark forests and high mountains. Perfect hunting territory, which made sense for a species of apex predators. As the ship entered orbit, Jacob felt nervous. He was about to be surrounded by hundreds of Zathin warriors. Despite Threxus's assurance that he was family, some part of his survival instinct screamed that this was dangerous. The transport landed at a designated area near a large settlement. Jacob stepped out, and the air hit him immediately. Thick, humid, and hot, much hotter than humans preferred. His suit's environmental controls kicked in to keep him comfortable. Threxus was waiting for him. The Shadow Hunter looked different somehow. Less battle-worn, more relaxed. "Jacob Morrison," Threxus said, and Jacob heard warmth in the translated voice. "Welcome to Talon's Rest. Welcome home, Kreshta." Home. The word struck Jacob deeply. This alien world so different from Earth was being called his home by a creature that could kill him in seconds. "Thank you for the invitation," Jacob said. "I am honored to be here." "Come," Threxus said. "I will introduce you to the clan." They are eager to meet the human who has earned such respect. They walked through the settlement together. Zathin stopped what they were doing to watch Jacob pass. He saw curiosity in their multiple eyes, but no hostility. They knew he was Kreshta, marked by the blade at his side. The gathering was held in a large open space surrounded by tall trees. Hundreds of Zathin were there, from massive warriors to smaller juveniles. They all turned to look as Threxus led Jacob into the center of the space. An ancient Zathin, even larger than Threxus and covered in scars, stepped forward. Jacob's translator identified this one as the clan elder, the leader of the 3rd Talon clan. "This is the human?" the elder asked, its voice like grinding stones. "The one Threxus has claimed as Kreshta?" "Yes, elder," Threxus replied. "This is Jacob Morrison. He has proven himself worthy many times over." The elder circled Jacob slowly, studying him with all 4 eyes. Jacob stood still, trying not to show fear. This creature was at least 3.5 meters tall, absolutely massive. "You are so small," the elder said finally. "So fragile. Your bones would break like twigs." Your skin would tear like wet paper. How did one such as you earn the respect of our finest hunter? Jacob took a deep breath. With respect, Elder, I do not know. I simply did what needed to be done. I protected my companions. I faced danger when required. I used my mind when my body was not enough. I suppose I showed that even someone as physically weak as me could have strength in other ways. The Elder made a sound that might have been approval. Threxus tells me you ran toward danger to save others, that you faced him in darkness and outmaneuvered him, that you earned wounds protecting those weaker than yourself. These are the actions of a true predator, regardless of what body you inhabit. The massive Zathin placed a blade arm gently on Jacob's shoulder. Welcome to the 3rd Talon clan, Jacob Morrison. You are Krishta. You are family. Our territory is your territory. Our enemies are your enemies. Our honor is your honor, and our protection is yours always. A roar went up from the assembled Zathin, not a threatening sound, but one of acceptance, of welcome. Jacob felt tears prick his eyes behind his helmet visor. These fearsome creatures, these apex predators, were accepting him as one of their own. The gathering continued for hours. Zathin approached Jacob to introduce themselves. Some told stories of their own battles. Others asked questions about humans and Earth. Jacob answered as best he could, trying to represent his species well. Later, as the gathering wound down, Threxus took Jacob to a quiet spot overlooking the forest. They sat together in comfortable silence for a while, watching the sun set over the alien landscape. You asked me once, Threxus said, about how humans came to possess such fierce spirits in such delicate forms. I have thought about this question often. Have you found an answer? Jacob considered the question carefully. I think it is because we had to develop those traits to survive. Humans evolved on a world where we were not the strongest or fastest. We did not have claws or armor or venom. We had to be clever. We had to work together. We had to be brave and stubborn and refuse to give up. Those traits became part of who we are. Adversity forged your species into something remarkable, Threxus said. Your physical weakness forced you to develop strengths of mind and spirit. It is a good answer. And it teaches me something important. What is that? That we Zathin have become arrogant. We value physical strength so highly that we dismiss those who lack it. But you have shown me that we miss much by thinking this way. There are many types of strength, many ways to be a warrior. Your species understands this better than mine does. Jacob looked at the blade hanging from his belt. I never expected any of this. When I joined the coalition military, I just wanted to prove that humans could contribute, that we belonged. I never imagined I would be sitting here on a Zathin world, being called family by the galaxy's apex predators. Life surprises us, Threxus said. 6 months ago, I would have laughed if someone told me I would claim a human as Krishta. Yet here we are. You have changed how I see the universe, Jacob Morrison. You have taught me that value comes in unexpected forms. They sat together until full darkness fell. The forest came alive with sounds of nocturnal creatures. Above, unfamiliar stars sparkled in the alien sky. Jacob felt at peace in a way he had not felt in a long time. Eventually, it was time to leave. Threxus walked Jacob back to his transport ship. Before Jacob boarded, the Zathin stopped him. Remember this, Krishta, Threxus said. You carry more than just my blade. You carry proof that strength comes in many forms, that courage and intelligence matter as much as claws and armor. When others look at you and see weakness, you can show them they are wrong, not through violence, but through the example you set every day. I will remember, Jacob promised, and I will do my best to honor the trust you and your clan have placed in me. You already have, Threxus replied. Safe travels, family. We will meet again. The transport lifted off, carrying Jacob away from Talon's rest. He watched the planet shrink in the viewport, feeling both sad to leave and grateful for the experience. When he returned to his team's base, everyone wanted to hear about his trip. He told them everything, describing the gathering, the elders' welcome, the acceptance he felt from the clan. This will have ripple effects, Velric said thoughtfully. The Zathin are respected and feared across the galaxy. If they accept humans as equals, others will follow their lead. The sun rose over Cavros Prime the next morning, painting the crystal formations with golden light. The diplomatic compound was a mess. Scorch marks covered the ground where plasma fire had burned. Damaged equipment lay scattered everywhere. Medics still moved between the wounded, treating injuries. Jacob had slept only a few hours. His body ached from the fighting. His arm had a new bandage where he had been grazed by enemy fire. But he was alive, and so was his team. That was what mattered. He found Threxus standing at the edge of the compound looking out over the valley. The Zathin had not moved from that spot for hours. Its armor was damaged in several places, showing the violence of the previous battle. "You do not sleep?" Jacob asked as he approached. "My kind requires less rest than yours," Threxus replied without turning, "and I have much to think about." "About what?" Threxus finally looked at Jacob. "About you. About what I witnessed yesterday. I have hunted across many worlds, fought countless battles. I have seen warriors of every species that exists in this galaxy, but never have I seen someone so physically weak display such strength of spirit." Jacob did not know how to respond to that. He had just done what needed to be done. "Nothing special. You do not understand, do you?" Threxus continued. "Yesterday, when that raider aimed his weapon at your diplomat, you ran toward him. Not away, toward. You knew you were weaker. You knew you might die, yet you ran toward the danger to protect others. This is not normal behavior for prey species. This is the behavior of a guardian, of a protector. I am a soldier," Jacob said simply. "Protecting others is my job." "It is more than a job to you," Threxus said. "I can see it. When you fought, you did not think of yourself. You thought only of your companions, of keeping them safe. This quality, this instinct to protect those you have bonded with, is something my people value above all else. We call it Kreshta. It means chosen kin, family of the spirit." Jacob thought about that word, family. He had a family back on Earth. Parents, a sister, but his team here, they had become a different kind of family. People he trusted with his life. People he would die to protect. "Among the Zathin," Threxus explained, "when we recognize this quality in another being, regardless of their species or physical form, we offer them a place in our clan. We claim them as Kreshta, as family. It is the highest honor we can give." Jacob's breath caught. "Are you saying what I think you are saying?" "I am saying that I wish to claim you as Kreshta, Jacob Morrison, as chosen family of the third Talon clan. If you accept this honor, all Zathin everywhere will know you are under our protection. They will treat you as one of our own, and I will stand with you in any battle for as long as I live." Jacob was speechless. The Zathin were the most feared warriors in the galaxy. They were apex predators. They did not offer friendship or alliance easily. Yet this creature who had once hunted him now wanted to call him family. "I do not know what to say," Jacob managed finally. "This is an incredible honor. But why me? There are stronger warriors, more experienced soldiers. Strength is not measured only in muscle and armor," Threxus said. "True strength comes from here." The creature tapped its chest where a heart would be. "You have shown me that physical weakness does not equal spiritual weakness. You have taught me that courage and intelligence can be greater weapons than claws and fangs. For this lesson, I honor you with this offer." "Then I accept," Jacob said, with gratitude and humility. Threxus made a sound that might have been satisfaction. "Good, then it is done. You are now Kreshta to the third Talon clan. I have a gift for you, to mark this bond." The Zathin reached into a pouch on its armor and pulled out something wrapped in dark cloth. It handed the bundle to Jacob carefully, making sure its blade arms did not accidentally cut him. Jacob unwrapped the cloth. Inside was a small blade no longer than his forearm. It was made from the same black material as Zathin armor. The edge gleamed sharp in the morning light. The handle was wrapped with leather sized perfectly for human hands. "This is a Talon blade," Threxus explained. "It is forged from material shed from my own body, crafted by the finest smiths of my clan. It will cut through almost any armor. More importantly, it marks you as family. Any Zathin who sees this blade will know you are Kreshta to the third Talon clan. They will not harm you. They will offer you aid if you need it." Jacob held the blade carefully. It was perfectly balanced, lighter than it looked. He could feel the craftsmanship in every line of it. This was not just a weapon. It was a work of art, a symbol of something profound. "I will treasure this," Jacob said, "and I will honor the bond you have offered me." "I know you will," Threxus replied. "Now come. Your commander approaches. He will want to know what we have been discussing." Indeed, Velrix was walking toward them, with Dracon and several other team members following. They looked curious but also wary. Seeing their human teammate standing casually next to a Zathin shadow hunter was still strange to them. "Morrison," Velrix said, "is everything all right?" "More than all right, sir," Jacob replied. "Threxus has offered me a great honor. He has claimed me as Kreshta, As family to his clan. Draken's eyes widened. Family? A Zathin has claimed a human as family. It is unprecedented, Velric said slowly. I have heard of Zathin claiming other species as Kreshta, but it is extremely rare. They choose only those who have proven themselves worthy by their standards. Jacob Morrison has proven himself many times over, Threxus said. He fought with honor on the damaged ship. He showed courage yesterday when protecting your diplomat. He possesses the spirit of a Zathin warrior, even if his body is human. By our laws and traditions, I claim him as Kreshta. Any who harm him will answer to me and the Third Talon clan. The weight of those words settled over everyone. The Third Talon clan was one of the largest and most respected Zathin clans. Having their protection was incredibly valuable. But more than that, it was a statement. The galaxy's apex predators had looked at humanity's weakest trait, their physical fragility, and declared it meaningless compared to their strength of character. This will change things, Velric said thoughtfully. When word spreads that the Zathin have claimed a human as family, it will make others reconsider their views of your species. Good, Drakon said. Humans have been underestimated for too long. Morrison has shown us what they are truly capable of. Let the rest of the galaxy learn the same lesson. Threxus placed one blade arm gently on Jacob's shoulder. We will meet again, Jacob Morrison. When that day comes, I hope you will tell me more about your species. I wish to understand how humans came to possess such fierce spirits in such delicate forms. It is a paradox that fascinates me. I would be honored, Jacob said. And thank you. For everything. For saving my life. For this gift. For accepting me as family. Thank you, Threxus replied. For teaching me that strength comes in many forms. Safe travels, Kreshta. The Zathin turned and walked away, disappearing among the crystal formations. Jacob watched until the creature was out of sight. He felt changed somehow. Not physically, but inside. He had been accepted by a species that valued strength above all else. Not because he had become stronger, but because they had learned to see strength differently. The team prepared to leave Cavros Prime later that day. The peace talks had been postponed after the attack, but they would resume once security could be guaranteed. The coalition diplomat was shaken, but unhurt, thanks to the combined efforts of her security team. As they boarded their shuttle, Yenna approached Jacob. May I see the blade? She asked shyly. Jacob showed her the Talon blade. She examined it carefully, her medical knowledge allowing her to recognize the biological origin of the material. This is incredible, she said. The Zathin shed their outer armor periodically as they grow. But they only use that shed material for the most important items. This blade represents years of growth carefully preserved and shaped. It is more than a gift. It is a piece of Threxus himself. Jacob looked at the blade with new understanding. Threxus had given him part of himself, a permanent reminder of their bond. I will keep it safe, Jacob promised. Always. The shuttle lifted off, carrying them away from Cavros Prime and back toward Coalition space. Jacob sat by a window, watching the beautiful crystal planet shrink behind them. He held the Talon blade carefully in his lap, feeling its weight. Drakon sat down next to him. The big Kryn warrior looked at the blade, then at Jacob. You have come far, human. When you first joined our team, I thought you were a burden. Deadweight we had to protect. I was wrong. You have proven yourself time and again, and now you carry the mark of Zathin family. I am honored to fight beside you. Thank you, Jacob said. That means a lot coming from you. I speak only truth, Drakon replied. You have changed how I see humans, how we all see humans. Your species may be physically fragile, but you possess something that cannot be measured in muscle or armor. You have courage, intelligence, loyalty, and apparently you have enough strength of spirit to earn the respect of apex predators. Velrix joined them, settling his large frame into a nearby seat. Morrison, I want to officially commend you for your actions on Cavros Prime. Your quick thinking and bravery saved lives. I am putting you forward for a Medal of Valor. Jacob felt his face grow warm. Sir, I was just doing my job.